Today we're going to be covering the product roadmap and a little bit of a look back, actually quite a bit of a look back on what Everee's been doing over the last roughly a year. And I'm going to be walking you through some slides so you can kind of see what's available, what's not. And just a quick note, if you have a question, don't hesitate to ask it. We'll have a Q&A at the end for any kind of general questions that you may have, but don't hesitate to ask questions. So, okay, so the purpose of this call, as I mentioned, is for us to review kind of like what is happening with Everee, what are we going to be building for, and what have we built here recently. There's a lot of work that we've accomplished over the last year and a half, and we want to make sure everybody's familiar with all of those great features that we're very excited about. When we think about Everee and the solutions that we provide to the market, we actually think about it in these terms. There's really kind of four terms or four pillars to our application, to our platform. The first is time. The second is HR and org. The third is payments, and the fourth is scheduling. Those are the pillars that make up our product and our experience. And if you're not familiar with how we structure our product and our application, we do it so that all of our features are all available to all of our customers. So you should have all of these acts. There's a couple of minute details around that last statement there, but you should have access to all of the features that we have in our application. And we're going to walk through these sections here today, as well as we're going to cover a section about worker tools, because we get quite a few questions about what workers can or can't do, what kind of tools do they have available. So we'll cover that at the very end. So you're familiar with that and you can make your teammates familiar with it. So the first section that we're going to start with is about time. If you're not familiar with this is essentially it's time clock. It's time clock, and you can do this from the web. You can do it from mobile. You can do it from the Everee terminal, which we'll talk about actually a couple of times today. The second thing is that you can have managers review and verify hours each day. This is really important for a lot of different type of companies. It provides wonderful hygiene when it comes to time, and time equals money, and especially in terms of payroll. So having managers review, verify time each day helps ensure that the money that goes out is accurate based off the hours that will work that day. It's also fully integrated with payroll. So you don't have to go do your time somewhere else and then pull it back into Everee to run your payroll. You can actually do it. We do it for you. So a lot of that is going to make all of the payroll experience much, much easier for you and for your team. So we're going to start with a feature that's really popular. I'm sharing this because there are customers that don't use this, but we want to make sure you're familiar with it. It's called manager verification. It allows you as the administrator to designate and create teams of individuals and a manager of those teams. The manager each day is going to get a notification from Everee that asks them to verify whether or not the hours that were recorded by each of the workers on that team is accurate, and allows the manager to actually edit the time if need be. So this is a great example of, like, if an employee forgets to clock in, the manager can help out the employee at the end of the day. Or if there's a teammate or a team of individuals where you've had trouble with trust and clocking in and clocking out in the right times, that's going to also provide a little bit of safety with regard to making sure that the right times were logged, because all of that information gets plugged right into your payroll as we build your payroll for you. A newer feature that we released it I think late last year, is geotagging. Now, geotagging works in conjunction with manager verification. It also works in conjunction with the time clock. And geotagging is the ability for you to understand where your employees were when they clocked in and when they clocked out. So it provides additional visibility to ensure that the workers were where they were supposed to be when they started and when they ended their shifts. Now, note, this is geotagging. This is a little bit different than geofencing. One of the things that we did here is that we created a solution that was geared toward um, perhaps maybe a little less creepy side of kind of like the geofencing aspect. Geofencing is typically like the terminology many customers use and many people use in the industry. Geofencing is actually kind of building a fence and ensuring that an employee can or can't clock in or out outside of that fenced area. One, it requires us to track where those employees are at all times, which a lot of employees are becoming more and more skeptical about. But then two, it also provides lots of opportunity for errors and the inability for employees to actually clock in when they are in the right spot. A lot of times, geotagging, geofencing technologies are pretty difficult to actually get at a very high accurate area. So we've gone with something that's going to be a little bit more less complicated in terms of the application, but easier for your workers and your managers to deal with when there are issues with those kind of geolocation inaccuracies. This is available to everybody, and as I mentioned earlier, as you can note, it is integrated with our manager verification solution. Another new tool that we developed late last year was the Everee terminal. Now, a terminal is a great application for employees to clock in and out from. In fact, that's pretty much all that we provide on that solution. It is fully integrated with locations, which we'll cover in just a few minutes. And the great thing about it is there's remote management for administrators. So the concept is you purchase or you reutilize a tablet or a computer, and you provide a station at your workplace where workers can use the time clock. If you've got multiple locations all across the United States, it doesn't matter because you can manage and turn it on or turn it off or reboot or whatever you need to do remotely. So you can do that from, I guess, probably home, just like the rest of us. So that is a newer feature, and we recommend using this feature, especially and providing this feature for workers who struggle with technology, or they don't have smartphones, or if you just want to make sure people are where they are supposed to be. This is also integrated with geotagging as well, so those two things work hand in hand. So if you want to run both of those consecutively, you can do that. Another new feature that we've released, I think we released this one a little bit earlier this year, is project tracking. This tool is part of time, even though you can see in the left nav of this screen, it's part of organizations. Really, it's a time feature. It is not integrated with time clock. This is a standalone time feature. It allows administrators to ask their teams how much time are they spending on one project or task versus another project or task. This is great for clients who are either billing customers for hours that are worked by their teams, or it's a great solution for administrators or customers trying to understand whether or not they're staying in budget with a particular project or task. So if you're bidding on projects or bidding on jobs, this is a good solution for you to track whether or not you guys are staying within your budget based off that original bid. It's available to all worker types, so contractors, salary, and hourly. And we do, outside of contractors, we do estimate labor costs. So if that is something that's interesting to you, we do actually do the calculation. So if, for example, if you work on the governor's mansion project, you can see how many hours and how much cost that is for either an individual, a team of individuals, or just the entire crew. So let's move into HR and org. There's gonna be quite a bit of content in this section because we've got some new stuff coming here. But it really starts with easy onboarding. We're going to be deploying here very soon tax document signing that are going to be integrated with onboarding and integrated with the user worker profile, which is the next item here on the list. We'll talk about teams and location supports. This is really organization, and I mentioned location earlier. Location in Teams is a really critical feature that kind of integrates a lot of different things. We'll cover it in just a second. And then tax document, or excuse me, I should say document storage. You can store documents in our application, both at an account level. So if you need your company documents to go somewhere, we can host that information for you, and an employee or worker level. So if you've got specific tax docs for workers, or perhaps you have an improvement plan that you're working with the worker and you want to store it in Everee, you can do that here. Let's start with worker onboarding. This is perhaps like the most complicated, most time consuming, especially for many of our customers where there's high turnover or high churn of workers. We've spent a lot of time in the last 6 months on improving this, and we are continuing that. So what you see today is going to be pretty limited screens. We've done a lot of work here, and we've got, actually our team is working on improvements on top of what you see. But the first one is this worker onboarding. And the key parts here, there's 4 key parts. You can do this just like there's several ways and methods that you can onboard workers, and we've tried to design it so that it's just really easy based off of what your needs are. So you can do it manually by asking your workers to do it. This would be, for example, me sending to employees an email and asking them to complete their profile. You can manually do it. So that's the second one, is that you can manually upload all the worker information yourself. That's kind of a little tedious, but if you just got a onesie or twosie kind of employee hiring situation, it might be the fastest and easiest for everybody. We also support doing this automatically via API. And then finally, we're doing this through applicant tracking. And we'll talk about applicant tracking in just a few minutes, and our integration with Zapier, because that opens us up to supporting this in other tools like Workable, Breezy HR, and others. You can see on the screen here, it's designed so that the worker understands exactly what they have to do. We collect, there's about 5 to 6, maybe 8 screens. It really kind of depends on what you're looking for, the worker type that you're adding, but we try and focus in on those important parts so that we know that we've got the right information and we can pay these individuals, and that payment will be successful. So you can see down in the middle, this onboarding progress bar. This is new, and this you will see on, especially in you'll see this in the onboarding people section. You can see what is and is not completed here. So there's different sections to Jerry's onboarding progress, and you can see that he has not claimed his account. We'll talk about that. And he has also not set his pay preference, which are 2 things that he needs to do before we can pay him. The next one is the worker profile. So worker profile is kind of the heart or the center of each of the workers. This is where all the information is stored for the workers. And so a lot of the things we've talked about are mentioned already, tax docs or doc signing and stuff like that. You'll see all of that kind of culminate into this profile here. There's a lot to this. I'm not going to go into all the details because it's fairly self-explanatory, but we do support current details and future changes. So if you're going to make a promotion and you're gonna give Mary here as an example a promotion, you can do that, and you can future date it. Also, we provide pay stubs so that you can view them and answer questions. You also see pay history. We'll take a look at both of those items in just a few minutes, and I've mentioned document storage already. Organization, this is an HR tool. This is a great tool for you and your company, and it's as I mentioned, it's integrated into things like manager verification, scheduling, and terminal. There's 2 aspects of this. First is teams. So if you set up a team, it's a group of individuals. You've got team members, and then you have a team manager. And that team manager is going to do things like they're going to be able to verify the hourly worker's time. They're also going to be able to create schedules based off of those teams and locations. And then terminal, I mentioned terminal. If you set up a location, you can also create for that location a terminal that's unique to that location, so that it's for those individuals who need a designated tool like that, they'll have it at their disposal. Teams and locations are going to continue to kind of be built out over time. We do plan to add features, concepts like org charts. We do plan to add other features and improvements to this, because it is central to kind of like making your organization run more efficiently. We talked about document folders. So here are the details about document folders. You can host documents in 2 locations. The first is on any one of the worker profiles. The second one, you can host it in the account level. So you can think about this as like account level. I'm going to put company level documents there, and then on a people level or an individual level, I'm going to host tax docs or anything else. Information you put into those profiles is information that you see they don't. There are some exceptions to that. For example, some of the tax docs that we provide to them at the end of the year, so they can file their taxes. Clearly, they can see those when the time is right, when they're produced. Policies is another one. This one is an available now feature. This is a feature that we encourage everybody to take advantage of. There are 2 policies that we support, and there's a lot of varieties on both of these policies. I'm not going to go into all of the details, but for holiday pay, we do support custom holidays. So, for example, in the state of Utah, we have Pioneer Day, the 24th of July. It's a very popular holiday here in the state of Utah, and we do take it off generally. A lot of companies want to pay their workers because of that. So that's a good example of a solution that we provide. You can also see here that it is and provides like end of year kind of like rollover tools that you can go in and check out. And it is also it's really nicely paired with a PTO program. We offer 2 PTO programs: unlimited PTO, which is really popular with like tech companies or companies that don't perhaps want to carry a PTO balance on their sheet. The second one is accrual-based PTO. You can determine the type of workers that you want to include in both of those programs, and they are both integrated with payroll, which makes payroll much easier. So when you have a holiday, we do the calculations, and then time for you to run your payroll. All of that information is included. I mentioned pay stubs just a few minutes ago. We're going to talk about pay stubs, and then we're going to talk about pay history. Pay stubs, this is an available now feature. We made this available a few months back. But as an administrator, if you want to know what pay stubs your workers are asking about or have questions about, this is the place for you. It is on the worker profile and just allows you to go in and see what they see. A new tool that we just released a couple of weeks ago is called Payment Details. Payment Details is, I would say, really like the future of the pay stub. So it's pretty much, it's very virtual. You can see here, you can see like how we calculated, what were the considerations or what were the variables that went into the calculation of that employee's pay or workers' pay for that matter. And you can access this from the worker profile as well. So you can go look at pay stubs, you can look at their pay history, you can go into each individual payment, and then you can dive into the details. If you have a question with when an employee or worker comes to you and they're not sure about how it grows to net it out and they don't understand that, we recommend starting here. This is going to give you all the detail. You can understand some of the variables of like tax settings, etc., that were considered there. It's a new feature. We're very excited about it. It's one, as I mentioned, we'll be looking to integrate that with the pay stub over time. Two new integrations that we want to talk about. One isn't quite so new, but it's definitely worth mentioning. But we offer um, two they'll call them HR integrations. Now, I'm going to pause before I go into the details. This is a new page. It's not live just yet. It's going to be live here in the next couple of weeks. So you'll see this replace the current integrations page. But what you see here is you've got two of them for HR. The first one is Employee Navigator. This is a bi-directional integration. So when information is updated, it's going to be sharing the appropriate information. There's some information you can update in one system versus the other. But if you use Employee Navigator for your benefits, we strongly recommend turning this integration on because it keeps everything in sync. You don't have to update the same information in two places. On the Zapier integration, this is a little bit different. This has to deal with applicant tracking integrations. So for those of you who are using ATSs, we recommend that you look into using Zapier approved integrations. If you're not familiar with Zapier, they are a marketplace of tools that allow companies to easily integrate and configure so that you can start an action from just a click of a button in one application into the other. So for example, with our Zapier integration, as a client, you would be able to go and start using Breezy or Workable or other applicant tracking solutions that Zapier is integrated with. You'll be able to go through the typical hiring process, reviewing applicants, et cetera, making an offer, and then click a button, essentially, set a status. That status is at that point going to kick off the motions of getting all of the information out of that application that is necessary, and then start the onboarding process with Everee. So you don't have to go do much onboarding. There is some work you'll probably have to do, but it's negligible, and it creates a really seamless experience. So if you're using Breezy HR, which, for example, I'm using it right now, the last couple of weeks, as I'm ready to hire somebody, I hit a button in Breezy, and then it fires off a message to that applicant to say, let's go. We want you to join Everee. We want you to join our company. Our company is Everee that we use, so you'll be getting a message from them. And then from there, onboarding starts. So those are two integrations you should check out because they're going to save you quite a bit of time. And in the case of Employee Navigator, it's going to keep your data consistent, which is a really good thing. One of the things that we have coming soon is about account claiming. We see this happen quite a bit, especially with HR tools, that workers don't ever actually log into their application. And for an administrator, it's very difficult to understand, like, are these workers who struggle with understanding information about any of the HR programs we offer, like, for example, policies? Do they know where to go find this information? And a lot of times administrators don't even have insight to whether or not the workers can view that detail. With our account claiming feature, it's a feature, you will, as the administrator, be able to see who has and who has not. This is going to give you a good indication of whether or not they can pull down their pay stubs, they can take PTO or request PTO. They are going to be using a feature that you've asked them to use for whatever reason, for example, project tracking. So that visual indicator there that you see there in the middle, that'll give you a good sense of what's going on. And if you need to ask them to resend it, there'll be an option there to send the kind of like the gain access, which you see there at the top, the send access email. So this will be coming out soon, and it's going to save you quite a bit of time in trying to troubleshoot and then also getting those workers to use the right tools. All right, we're going to kind of jump into a section here that we're going to go look at another set of information, but only because this is coming very soon. There's been a lot of interest on this, and we are very excited about it, and that's tax doc signing. So in a few weeks, we're going to start to roll this out. It'll be a phased rollout. We're going to start with some basic contractor clients first, and then we'll move into those clients who have actual employees. But we're going to be supporting both employees and contractors. It includes federal, state specific, and I-9 support. And I want to go to another document and walk you through just a few of the items that we're going to be covering, because I'm sure a lot of you are going to have questions. Before we start this, though, I want to note we're covering tax doc signing or any required federal documents, that is, like I-9, as you can see here. We are not covering custom docs in this work, but it is not because we didn't want to, it's because we wanted to deliver this feature first. Custom docs is absolutely on our roadmap and on the horizon. We can talk a little bit about that a little bit later. So who's going to see what? This is the example of an employee or a W-2. They're going to see they've got to consent to electronic agreements. The second is federal documents like the W-4 and I-9. We'll cover I-9 in just a second. It's a little bit more of a round trip and more complicated thing, but then also state specific. So if you've got somebody in a state who is employed that has got to sign those special state documents, we'll cover that. We'll provide that solution as well. Contractors, they see a lot less. It's just the consent to use the electronic form, and then also the federal W-9. In all of our electronic signatures, we are going to be gathering the necessary information in terms of an audit trail. This is really important for you to have for legal purposes. You can see here on the left-hand side, document ID, date, time, IP address, and clearly a typed signature. Those are the recognized requirements to have some sort of audit trail that is, I guess the right term would be binding. That's going to be provided to you, and you can see here everybody's going to be typing their names in. The worker profile is going to change a little bit. We're going to be taking document storage. We're going to split them into two. The first is going to be for tax information, and the second is going to be for other documents. Those other documents include, for example, I-9, and then clearly, as we get into the work of custom docs, you could see where those custom docs would also land. They would be landing in the documents section. So that is the work that we're going to be doing on tax docs. We're very excited. We're very close with the work that we've got left, and we're going to be rolling that out over the next couple of weeks. Profile pics. Wow, like we've had a huge request for this, and we get it. We've been waiting for the right time to do it, and actually the right time for us was actually in conjunction with the scheduling work. We're going to talk about scheduling in just a few minutes. So profile pics is something that's going to be coming soon. The team will start work on that in a couple of weeks. A couple of things to note. One, the workers are going to be able to upload and manage their own pics, so they can post the pics themselves, manage it, crop it, etc. But if they post something that you don't like, you are always going to be able to delete that image. So we're also exploring building in some other controls to ensure that like you don't even have to go through that. That's something that we're exploring right now, but it would be more just like a double check to make sure that somebody's not going to post something that is inappropriate. So worker pics are going to be great because they're going to make a lot of tools, especially scheduling, as I mentioned earlier, much easier to understand and visualize. But then it just kind of polishes the product off quite a bit. All right, let's talk about payments. I'm going to go through this relatively quickly because I think everybody's very familiar with this. There's three solutions that we really provide. One is payroll. Two, we do ad hoc or other payment types, depending on how you like to refer to them. And then finally, we also do integrations with QuickBooks on that. There's another integration we should probably mention here. Look, as a refresher, this is a refresher. If for some of you that don't know, Everee supports and provides credit supported worker pay. And if you're not familiar with that, it is essentially we take and pay your workers over your traditional pay period, and then we reconcile with you at the conclusion of that. Why is this good? Well, it's good because it allows your organization's cash flow to be much easier, especially when you need it. So you can take that money and you can apply it to other things as you're working through your billings or you're working through something else, your receivables, whatever. If you want more information about this, message our support team. I think many of you know Tyler and Marcy. Just message them and tell them that you're interested in this, you'd like to learn more. And it's obviously it's upon approval, so we're going to review. There's a credit check and all that jazz. But it's a great solution. We're finding a lot of our clients like using it because it helps them manage the cash flow. Payroll. Look, this is really kind of like the heart of our tool. This is where we started with. As I mentioned earlier, it is really highly integrated. It's integrated with time clock. It's integrated with PTO. It's integrated with holiday policies. At some point, we're going to integrate it with scheduling. At the heart of the solution is the fact that we've built everything on same day ACH, and that is great because it affords you to pay your workers daily. So you can pay them same day. It's a wonderful experience. If you're not using or leveraging that, I highly recommend it if you can do so. It also allows us, for those workers who don't want to get paid daily, it allows them to cash out if they need to on any earned income. That's a solution we call pay on demand. You can turn this on or off depending on what you want for your account, but it's a wonderful solution for your workers. And for many of us, just as a reminder, 74% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So having access to these type of tools is a great thing, and it's a wonderful benefit to provide to your workers because it ensures that they can stay away from predatory lending things. And you probably can't see it, but this frame right over my shoulder is a payday lending reference. This is something that we don't really care much for here at Everee. So please consider those solutions for your workers. All right, one-time payments. So these can be called also ad hoc payments. It really kind of depends on, I don't know, a lot of people call them different things. This is in terms of like the engine of our payment solution is one of the really cool things about what Everee does. You can pay workers whenever you want to. And you can do it for a variety of payment types. As you can see here, I think there's about 20 of them. Popular ones are bonuses, tips. There's some in here for advances, loans, and then the all-important reimbursements. So that is a really nice thing to have. You have unlimited payments that you can make, and you can, when you create those payments, you can group them either with outstanding payments, or you can just create a separate payment. So if you already have a payment teed up to go out that day and you create one of these one-time payments and you want to group it with this payment and send it all out at once, you can do that. Or if you just want to keep it separate for whatever purposes, you can do that as well. It's up to you. One of the nice features that we improved over the last few months is the ability to both drag and drop. So you can manually add a payment to any number of individuals, or you can use an Excel spreadsheet and you can drag a file into Everee and then we'll populate the payment for you. And then finally, a newer thing is that we've created an API that allows you to just kind of push things automatically. This API is an ideal solution for companies who are making payments to contractors on a very, very regular basis. So that feature there is not available to all clients. It's available to certain subsets, and we can help you if you have questions about that. So that's one-time payments. We also released here a couple of months ago, workers' comp. It's kind of like borders HR, but it has to do with payments. I wanted to plug it because it is a feature that we do provide. It is in our app, and it's very easy to manage um, and to start and manage, that is. So check it out. It's actually in the organization section of our application right now. Two integrations that you want to check out for kind of like the payments section of our application. The first is our QBO integration that has existed for well over a year now, and that Everee API, which I just mentioned just a few minutes ago. So some of you will have access to that depending on the type of customer you are. Okay, let's talk about scheduling. So scheduling is one of the major areas of investment for us over the last nine months or so. We're still working on it. It's a very big project for us, but it's critical to us. We talked about those pillars of time, payments, HR, and scheduling. Scheduling kind of ties it all together and really kind of makes it nice and easy for everybody. We are in beta on this right now, but this what you see here is available to some customers. And in the next couple of weeks, all customers will see this in a beta state. So you'll see a little tag that says beta. There'll be a test feature that you can play with. You can actually test scheduling to see if it's going to be a good fit for your company. And of course, you can always provide feedback, and we'll take a look at that and consider some of your feedback for future builds. But with scheduling, you can create schedules for all of your locations. So this ties back into locations and organization. It is also ties into teams, because your managers are going to be the ones who are going to be building this with you. So you're not responsible for building all these schedules, especially if you're multi-location, multi-team organization. And because it's fully integrated with the rest of Everee, we provide information to the schedule builder or schedule owner to understand what your labor costs. So we're starting to predict what your labor costs are going to be for a particular day or a particular week, so you can kind of understand what's going on. This is a week view. It doesn't really give you a good sense of who's working when, but our day view, I don't have a screenshot of that. Our day view will give you like a actual, your business hours for the day, and then you can look to see how much coverage you have at the right time for your business, because that's really important for many customers. The next release that we're going to be sharing is going to be coverage requests. This is the second of 3 phases of scheduling. We're a few weeks away. This is going to allow your workers to either request to work an open shift that you've not assigned, or if 2 people want to exchange a shift, they can do so. It's going to require an approval, a review and approval by the manager or the creator of the schedule. And as you would guess, we're also going to be including some labor information there, so you know whether or not it's a good match. You don't if your labor costs are strong consideration. So that is our second phase. We are a few weeks away from having this ready to go, but it's coming very soon. The final phase is back geared towards the administrators and of Everee and the managers of Everee. This is what we're calling groups and templates, also filters, but groups and templates. A template would be, I want to create a morning shift. You can see on the screen, this is a morning shift, and I want to drag morning shift to the right people. So it's a template. A group would be, you may want to group people based off of their worker classification or their role type. Those are 2 features that we plan to release. It'll be the last piece of scheduling that we plan to invest in. Not to say that we won't make minor improvements. So if you've got feedback as you start to use this, please provide the feedback. We'll absolutely consider it. But these are the last major investments we plan on making. This third phase is going to be following the coverage requests. So this will be coming in the next couple of months. So we'll keep everybody posted and share information as they become available. All right, the last section that we're going to talk about, just a few slides here. what tools do your workers have available? So look, we design our experiences so that your workers have a lot of flexibility. We realize not all workers are created equal in terms of their familiarity with technology, their availability to smartphones and technology, personal technology, and or your desire for people to use certain tools. So we've created things so that it makes sense for all of your workers. Here you can see we provide two solutions. The first is, we'll start with the iOS and Android app. So we provide both iOS and Android apps. They're great for workers who are confident with mobile technology. So they just go to the respective stores, they download, sign in, and off they go. And you can see over here that they can see the next shift that they're going to be working if that's applicable to them. They can see their time tracker, clock in, time off, pay stubs, pay history. They can manage some of their own personal information from the application. Another thing that we provide is a responsive web app. So that's really kind of back here on this laptop here. You can see it's all the same information laid out slightly differently. This is responsive. So if the worker is on a desktop, it works. If the worker happens to be on a mobile phone, but on their browser, it works there as well. All of it has the same features like notification preferences. As an example, this is relatively new. We released this, and it's all based on the user role. So if you're an administrator, you'll have more switches. If you're a manager, you'll have a little less switches, and if you are just a worker, you're going to have even fewer switches. A popular one that we released here recently is the Pay Yay feature, which notifies workers when money is on the way. So for all of your workers out there, that's popular. Administrators, one for you is payroll is ready. That is also, I would say, a comparable feature. You can manage all of these from both of the situations I described just a few minutes ago back here on the native and responsive solutions. The last solution we talked about already, but it's worth mentioning. This is a tool that you as an employer or provider can give to your workers. Now, this is like a shared device. If you missed it earlier, it's essentially a tablet or a desktop that you put up in your place of business as a station where people walk over and they clock in and they clock out. They have to authenticate in. They do use a simpler version of authentication, which is still very safe, but much easier. But it also explains why the only thing available in this tool is time clock, because we can't put PII in here. So we're not going to be adding a whole lot more information into this tool. It's just really more of a time clock. One thing that we might introduce to this over time would be the concept of the schedule, so that they can look at and understand what their schedule looks like over the next week. Okay, that's it. That's what we have. That's what we have worked on. Those are some of the nice features that we recommend individuals consider using. What we have recently released, and then what we are working on and what we plan to release. So let's open it up. We've got about 15 minutes. Let's open it up for questions if we have some.
Great, Kyle, I can go ahead and start reading some. We have one already, going back to the HR and org section. Okay. When it comes to an organization, is there a way to bulk change a group of employees rather than having to click into each one and change the org type from there?
I assume this would be moving individuals from one team to the next. That's I'm assuming that's what the question is about. So no, there's not a bulk action on that one, I don't believe, but a lot of times what we've found, and this is, I would say this isn't my first rodeo in building organizational tools. Typically what happens is when you are doing those bulk actions, what you're doing is you're kind of reorganizing your team. A lot of times the easiest function would be to just kind of like delete an old team and create a new one. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but if so, we don't support bulk actions, and we don't plan to, but I would like to maybe know more. So Dana, can we get that person's information and maybe I can reach out to them and understand a bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And Ricky did clarify that yeah, it's correct. If he had a team member change teams from last year, so switching teams.
Okay, understood. So no, we don't have bulk. So if you're moving people around in teams quite a bit, sometimes the best solution would be, in bulk that is, the best solution would be to just delete one team and start a new one. But I would like to know more about how frequently this is happening, and we'll explore some other options.
Great. We have a question from Sarah. Could you explain the difference between pay on demand and pay your way?
Yes, this is such a great question. Sarah, thanks for asking that one. This is really the genesis of Everee. It's about what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to help workers out. Let's start with pay on demand. So pay on demand is the concept of an employee working on a, let's say a semi-monthly cycle. So as an employer, your default pay cycle is semi-monthly. Your employee, let's call her Hannah. Hannah works the 1st of the 8th, and she's earned $1,000. And Hannah has another 7 days, maybe 8 days, depending on like the time, whatever, till she gets her paycheck. But she needs money, and she needs it now. Pay on demand is a situation where she hits a button, Everee pushes her earned income. So this is, if she's hourly, it would be any hours that she has worked and the manager has verified those hours. Or if she's salaried, it would be any hours or days that she would work. So it'd be prorated over that time period of that semi-monthly cycle. We push that money to her, and then at the conclusion of that pay cycle, we give her the balance that is owed to her. So if she would normally make $2,000 over a semi-monthly cycle, she would get another $1,000 on payday. That's pay on demand. So it's basically on demand. I ran into a bad situation. My car is broken down, whatever the case may be. I need to cash out right now. Pay your way is slightly different. Now, internally, we talk about pay on demand as being like a sub feature of pay your way. But we also think about pay your way being the situation where, let's say Hannah doesn't want to get paid semi-monthly, but she wants to get paid weekly, or she wants to get paid daily. That is typically what we refer to as pay your way. So Sarah, your situation here, Hannah has an option to either get paid daily, weekly, or semi-monthly. And if she chooses to get paid semi-monthly, she has the option of doing pay on demand. So it's almost like kind of like a pay on demand is more of a backup in the event that Hannah doesn't want to get paid daily or weekly.
Great answer, Kyle. Another question from Isabel. Will we as the employer be able to confirm and sign the I-9? Will we be sending it to E-Verify?
Yes, and yes. So I neglected to mention that. I should have gone one more slide in that presentation. So there's a round trip that has to happen, and yes, we are accommodating both of those. So the worker would sign it, and then you do your part, and then it comes back. I don't think that we're going to be doing the actual verification of I-9. That's, I believe, still on the employer to do that. But once you complete that, you can go and then acknowledge that you did that part.
Great. That looks to be all of our questions. Oh, here's another one from Ricky. Is there any future for user-side CSV contractor bulk upload? I managed order of sales teams, have about 150 to 200, and the number grows contractors in each summer, but spread out over different times. I've sent Marcy spreadsheets before and she bulk uploads it, but it would be very helpful if I could do that on my end, even if it's just for a few employees.
Can you ask that question in the very beginning again? I missed that.
Yeah, so this sounds like it's to, I believe it's to add new contractors to our system. So to add for the customer to be able to upload a CSV file of new contractors as teams scale, so that we don't have to do it on our end.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I wasn't sure if Ricky was talking about paying those workers and bulk uploading payments or bulk uploading new workers. It sounds like perhaps they have high turnover. They've got a lot of hiring that's taking
Scaling
place,
up, yeah.
high growth. Either case, we don't have current plans to do that just yet, but we do support an API that allows you to kind of push information in. So maybe Dana, maybe we can get Ricky's information. I can reach out to him and we can talk about that. But I believe we may have some solutions in place for him right now that might be a little bit easier, but we need to explore it.
Great. That was our last question. We can give it another few seconds here, see if any other ones come in. Sarah, do we have to pay extra for the pay your way feature or is it included?
Technically, I don't think that you're going to be charged additional to pay your way. However, I want you to consider credit supported in that process. When you do pay your way, what typically happens is you're on the daily. So every day, your manager, what will happen? Hannah's going to work. Let's say it's Monday. She's going to work on Monday. She's going to work 8 to 5. Later that evening, her manager, Mary, is going to get a message from us that says, did Hannah work these hours? Yes or no? And then Mary is going to say yes or no, edit those. And then on Tuesday morning, you as the administrators, you're going to get essentially, you're going to get a payroll pill. You're going to get a payroll payment that you need to go in and review. It should be really simple, very easy, because all the information in there should be accurate already because Mary did all that work for you the night before. So all you need to do is just verify it and then hit send. When you hit send, Hannah's going to get paid later that day. If you do it at the right time of the day, if you do it in the morning, that is, she'll get paid a little bit later that day. So you're going to get paid on Tuesday. It depends on the time of the day that you push the button, but she'll get paid on Tuesday for Monday. Now, what that does for you though is that we're going to be reconciling. If you're not a credit supporter, we're going to be reconciling with you on a more regular basis because of that. So, or you're going to have to float that. And what I would suggest you consider is our credit supported solution, because under credit supported in that situation, all of the Hannahs that are on daily pay or even weekly pay for that matter, all of that's fronted by us. So you don't have to worry about massive journal entries. You don't have to worry about money, cash flow issues coming in and out of your account. You just wait till the very end. We essentially send you a bill and we pull that money from your account and just true up at the end of the cycle. So to answer your question, yes. But to caveat that, I strongly recommend checking out the credit supported solution because it's going to help you manage that and manage your cash flow.
Yes, I think actually her question was if she has to pay extra. So no, technically pay your way, you don't have to pay extra. But if you do want credit support, there's a fee. So
correct. Thank you, Dana.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. Another question from Ricky. If there's something I'm missing with being able to review, hold on, let me just see if I can. I've opened past payments group by each payment run and the name I created for it. Currently, when I go to pay history, it basically is just one long list of payments I made over the pay cycle.
Yes, Ricky, this is a solution that this is a product need and product gap that we're aware of. So I think I'm going to kind of play this back, but I think what you're asking for is the ability to kind of go in and view the notes that you applied to each of the payments and the title of those payments, and then like be able to search for it and look for it so you can reference it in a future date. If that's true, if that's what you're describing, that is something that we're aware of and something that we do plan to address. In fact, we're not sure when, but the entire payment experience, those screens, we do plan to make major investments in here soon. In fact, some of our colleagues who are on the phone right now or on the call right now, we were talking about this just yesterday. So I'm hoping I'm answering your question though, Ricky. If not,
Yeah. He says yes.
okay, great. If
Yeah.
not, we'll talk about it, you and I.
Great. Well, we are almost at time, and it looks like that's all the questions. So thanks again, everyone, for submitting them, and Kyle for answering them. I will have a recording of this that I will send out to all of you in the next couple of days, so be looking out for that. And otherwise, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye all.